Welcome everybody to yet another live interview with Become a Fearless Father. And today's guest is Peter Borda, all the way from Australia. Just got up because over there it's morning and over here it is nighttime. So it's kind of funny. He just woke up and is about to start the day. I'm ending my day and I'm about to go to sleep. So we're both like, yeah, and we're going to go absolutely all out. So Peter, I saw your Facebook page, and one thing I really enjoyed is like live your life like a holiday, right?
Absolutely.
Did I say that good? All right. So let's start off with that, man, because I'm really excited to know what are the steps to make sure that I live my life like a holiday. And the reason why I'm asking, just for the people that are online watching right now, is this, right? We focus so much on our weekends. We focus so much on that holiday that maybe sometimes going to come. There's even people that focus so much that, once I am retired, right? And we miss all the beautiful stuff in between. So please share with us your philosophy and what are the steps to make sure that life is one big holiday.
Yeah, awesome question, man. And Klaas, thank you so much for having me on your show, man. It is awesome to be here. I love your energy already. I rarely meet people that are as sort of, that have got an energy level like what I've got. And it's like, I feel like we're passing the baton right now because you're sort of closing down for the day and I'm starting for the day.
Yep,
so
exactly.
That's an awesome scenario. And look, living life like a holiday. I remember I had to coach myself about how I wanted to move forward with helping people overcome blocks in their life and change the behaviors that don't work for them. And I put this group together a few years ago to really just be a base that I could just pour into. And I originally called it the professional dad because that's what I was. I was working in the corporate world. I was professional and I was also a dad. And I wanted to treat being a dad like a professional, like to take it. I don't take myself seriously, but to give that my focus, as in, to make being a dad my focus. And I changed the name to Living Life Like a Holiday. Number one, because I found that a lot of females were attracted into the group as well, and were interested in the content. And I thought, I don't want them to feel like it's just for dads or it's just a male thing. I realized there's a place for that. I mean, we're talking about becoming a fearless father. There's absolutely a place for that. But living life like a holiday, the whole concept behind it is, as you said, like we put so much emphasis on thank God it's Friday and man, I hate Mondays. And I'm like, man, if you hate Mondays and you live to be 70, you've hated 10 years of your life.
Yeah.
And when people hear it, like, oh yeah, like I'm like, it's just maths. Like I didn't come up with that. That's just mathematics, right? But that's a seventh of your life that you're dreading. And you're looking forward to that one day in the work week that you really love because it's Friday. And ultimately, that's because it signifies the end of something for you because you're grinding through. It's a grudge. Whereas living life like a holiday, how do we feel when we go on a holiday? Like we love the planning of it. We love the actual going of it, which is the smallest part. And then we love thinking about how good that holiday was. So if we look at life the same way, like if we imagine, I mean, I believe fully, and we're diving in pretty deep, pretty quick. I hope you're okay with that, Klaas.
Yep.
That we are spiritual beings having a human physical experience. Then this could be the holiday from whatever else we've been on, like this earth. And no, it ain't perfect. And yes, there are, there's evil, there's stuff that goes wrong, there's famine, there's politicians, there's all this stuff. And if we get bogged down in that, it'll be like Monday. How society views Monday. And people think I live under a rock because I'm not fully up to date with, it is impossible to live in 2019 and not know about the big ticket items because it's just blasted at us through social media and all sorts of media and people that we talk to. So we're going to find out eventually what's happening. And I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be at the cutting edge of, world issues and that's not me. That'll be somebody else. And they'll tell me, they'll create a blog post they'll eventually see. And if it's relevant to me, I'll take notice of it. But the concept of living life like a holiday is really about where do we give our focus? Because, stuff's going to go wrong and there's bad stuff in the world. But what are you focused on? And for me, it was literally, I was going through an exercise just yesterday. And it really was about, in that exercise, I worked out, it was really when I was, when my wife and I were pregnant with our first son, that everything really hit me. That I thought, wow, like I've got to get better. Like, I've got to up my game. Like, I'm happy, but what kind of dad do I want to be? What kind of father do I want to be to my children? And I already had being a husband as my number one priority. And that's when things really started to shift for me. And I started to look at the philosophies that I was living by, and the whole idea of, if you want to have a great life, you need to find a way to serve the many, because service to many leads to greatness. And the great Jim Rohn, who's one of the mentors that I've subscribed to and listened to and read his books, it makes sense. And it's such a great, it's a sustainable philosophy. Like, it's something that you can do forever, and it's always going to be nice for everybody involved if you find a way to serve the many. So that's really a core theme of how I live my life, and the concept of living life like a holiday. It's about an approach to each day. And I start my day around this time. I don't claim to be this upbeat every time. Like, I hearing your intro, I'm like, whoa, yep, okay, this is gonna be fun now. This is awesome. It starts a little bit slow. I've got like, this is just a little bottle of water, but I have, that's about, 375 milliliters. And I've got fresh lemon juice. I've got apple cider vinegar. I've got some Himalayan sea salt in there, and it's just filtered water. And so I knock that down within the first 15, 20 minutes of being awake. I get moving. I do either a workout physically, or I'll do read about, half an hour, 45 minutes of a book, which, by the way, which is this one right here, which is, I don't know if anyone's read Expert Secrets. Quick plug, I'm really loving the book. That's really helping me with what I'm going through at the moment and what I'm putting together. So look, starting the day, like, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And it's about a choice that you can choose to look at the mud, or you can choose to look at the beautiful stars. Like, two men sat behind prison bars. One saw mud, the other saw stars. The situation for both of them is the exact same. It's what they focus on that makes the biggest difference in how their life works out, man.
Exactly. I love it. And I do the same, but I'm for my, it's
there we go.
In the morning for me, it's absolutely the same. It definitely, it's a good part of my routine. And I love that, man. I've heard it so many times, but I heard it, how you start anything is how you start everything. I heard that when it came to making your bed.
Yes.
How you do one thing is how you do everything. And I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble, because the bed thing, that's just, yeah. So I just, I leave that. It's like, okay, that one doesn't count. By the time I can actually make the bed, because our kids come in the middle of the night and sneak in the bed, and I'm fast asleep, so I have no idea. By the time I wake up, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to wake them up now. And then, so you don't make the bed. And then by the time my kids get up and I bring them to, the school, and we come back, and I come back to the bed, and then it's time to make the bed. Then the dogs are in there looking at me like, I ain't moving. So that part I didn't do, but everything else I got pretty down. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I was wondering, like, okay, so what's the beginning of making sure that, you live life like a holiday, right? And I believe, from what I've heard from you, it's all about your mindset, right? It's all about making sure that this has the mindset of, I'm on a holiday, right? So let's step into that a little bit later. Let's talk about Peter Borda a little bit more, right? So share with us, who are you? What are you about? What do you do? You got 3 kids. I know that. Share with us some more about them. And of course, you just mentioned, like, you're really focused on being a husband. So of course, please share about your wife as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we've actually just become foster carers, and we've got a beautiful little 14-month-old baby boy as well. So we've got 3 biological children and 1 foster care child, and we're treating him like our own son. Like, it's just, it's so beautiful to be part of that process, to help in that area. And I don't know if anybody knows about the foster caring system, but if a child's in that system, then it's not very good for them. No. They're removed from what we love, which is our the nucleus of our family, and they don't have that. They've been removed from it because it's unsafe. So being able to be involved in that child's life, and that might be for 6 months, 6 years, it might be into their 18 for the rest of their life. But we're all in. So we love it. But look, just a brief backstory. So I'm the youngest of 3 boys. I've got 2 older brothers. We've got 16 kids between us. My oldest brother's got 8 kids, then the middle one's got 4 kids, and now we've got 4 now. So big family. The challenge with that is that we don't talk to half of them. So my oldest brother and my parents are sort of they're no longer, they're not in my life anyway. There's and I hope you're okay with me sharing the story, but it's really sad. Like it was a couple of years ago that we found out that my dad was doing things with our kids that he shouldn't have been doing, and obviously that's pretty much game over. So we picked up our life and we moved from Adelaide, which is in South Australia. We moved about 4.5 hours away to this beautiful place here called Whyalla, which is a mining, steel-making city. And my wife grew up here and her parents are here. So that's why we moved, is because that obviously, for obvious reasons, right? And we didn't have to move 4.5 hours away. We could have stayed where we were, but we lived very, very close to my parents. And my oldest brother lives next door to my parents, and he would like to affectionately call it he would like to live in ignorance. He doesn't want to acknowledge what's happening. And that's one of the saddest things for me, because his 8 children are at risk, and they're more than at risk. It's worse than being at risk, because I know what is happening. And so the middle brother and I both have children that have made disclosures to us about what Granddad was doing, and we believe them. And it's more than just a belief, it's like a knowingness in our heart. So that's my recent story, is my recent life for the last 2 years. It's been moving through and processing all the baggage that goes with an event like that. Like, I was upset about it. I cried about it. I wouldn't even say cried. It was more like howl. Like, just, I remember my throat and my insides just was so sore because of what I was mourning and what I was grieving for. And that's still there. Like, I still feel that little feeling here. I don't know if that'll ever go away, because we were very, very close as a family. If you looked up family in the dictionary, that there was a picture of us. Like, there was my mum and dad, there was the 3 boys, there was the 16 grandkids. We all lived in the same suburb. My oldest brother was next door. I was 2 minutes away. I used to work from the back of my parents' house with my laptop. I used to do coaching sessions like this all over the world. I'm focused more on the local market here with Whyalla, but that's only in the last couple of years since I've moved here, because I feel a real need and a real calling to serve the people here. But yeah, so that was my life, and it's been re-engineered. It's evolved, and I really don't want anybody to feel sorry for me, because it's been one of the biggest blessings to be set free from what was an absolute lie. I enjoyed my life. I loved my life, and I loved my parents, and I still love the people that I thought they were. But it's just liberating to be part of the world now, and to be contributing from a place of total authenticity, where there is no need for a facade. It's just what you see is what you get. And you could literally, Klaas, you could ask me anything, and I would tell you the truth. I would tell, whether it's about my love life with my wife, how I raise my children, do I smack my kids, what do I believe in, this, that, and the other, what do I do? Like, it's all good, because it's just, I love sharing it, because it's about being an example. I don't give advice, like what my business, in inverted commas, if you call that, because for me, it's just a passion. But what people would say my business is to help people. And they would say that, oh, you know, what advice could you give me? You know, they sit in their chair and they say, you know what, I need some advice. And I'm like, well, you've come to the wrong place, because I don't do advice. I'm not going to take that sort of responsibility on. I'm like, you got to look after your own life. But if you're interested in what I would do, well, here's how I've been living. You know, I've been living my life this way, and I'm happy, and I've got a great relationship with my wife. The communication that we have is amazing. Our relationship gets deeper every experience we go through. And I've got 3 beautiful children, and if you ask them, I'm pretty sure they'll say I'm the best dad in the world. And I'm proud of that, and I love that, and I strive for that every single day. You know, we have a structure. Success as a dad is not luck. You design it, and then you take action on that plan that you've created. And I'm going to write that down, actually, because I'm happy with that one, Klaas.
Yeah, I thought you like that. I like it.
Success as a dad is not luck. It's by design. Anyway, we've got to catch these gold nuggets, man.
That's why I always say, make sure you got pen and paper.
Oh, here we go. I love it, dude. I love that. I love seeing it, man. And, you know, wisdom comes to us in the most incredible places. And I mean, I was watching Kung Fu Panda the other day. And you know how when he, at the end of the movie, I don't know if you've seen Kung Fu Panda, and he gets to the panda gets to the...
Which one?
One? Oh, I'm sorry.
One, okay.
They're all brilliant. They're all brilliant. And the last one of the theme, which is, you know, I'm not trying to turn you into me. I'm trying to turn you into you. You know, is what Master Shifu talks about. I love that. But the first one got me hooked when at the end of the movie, he gets the scroll, which is the secret to becoming the dragon warrior. You know, it's like it's been up on the roof for like 1,000 years. And then the panda eventually gets the scroll and he opens up and he goes, oh, there's nothing on here. There's nothing on here. And it's just a mirror. It's just a reflection of him. And it's like, that's all he needs to be the dragon warrior is him. And I'm like, whoa, like that's like, oh man. So anyway, I digress. Backstory. Yeah, so I have 3 beautiful children, beautiful foster child. Now we got 4 kids in my book. Met my wife about 10 years ago. We met and married within a year, which my parents-in-law said was very quick, and they criticized us a little bit for that. And then I found out later that my parents-in-law got met and married within 6 months. What's the deal? How do you criticize someone for 12 when you got married in 6? But anyway, so look, we have a blast, man. Like every day is an adventure, and I don't want to pretend like I have this level of energy all day and like nothing gets me down and I don't have off times or off days. Like that's not true. What is true is I'm like this most of the time. Mm-hmm. But I have down moments. I don't have down days. I haven't been like down for a day. I can't remember the last time because what a waste. Like what a waste of a day. But my love and my zest for life has gotten stronger because of the trial of placing the responsibility and seizing the opportunity of being a world-class father, of being a world-class husband, and of navigating through such a complex, like broken down family now. Like it's such a challenge. But I'm up for it. And it's not a facade of like, oh, well, that sounds pretty hard. He's putting on a brave face. I'm like, it's not necessarily putting on a brave face. It's about making a choice on a daily basis. This is going to make me stronger. This is going to show my dad. I'm grateful that I have my dad because he's shown me exactly what I don't want to become. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful for that. And I didn't enjoy the experience of what we went through, but I'm grateful that I had it because it's got me to this point. And I could have become an alcoholic and become, you know, resentful and bitter. I know that plenty of people that go through challenges in their life, they feel like life's unfair. What did I do to deserve this? Oh, woe is me. You know, how could this happen to me? Why did life do this to me? And I think fundamentally, if we are living in that space, we become a victim of life. And that's not what the adversity is in our life to teach us. Mm-hmm. The adversity is in our life to help refine our character. And if we think of the real quick analogy that I share with people is gold is refined in the furnace, but the furnace is really hot. It's really, really hot there, like, you know, and, you know, that's what separates the dross from the gold. And the gold is what's valuable. And we have the opportunity when we go through ridiculously challenging experiences of abuse, of whatever it might be, whatever the relationship breakdown, you know, parents that aren't there for whatever bosses that think that, you know, anything like that, the adversity that we face in life is the gift. Like that is the gift, but it's our responsibility and our challenge and our opportunity to find the gold in that exact scenario. What most people want to just move on, they would want to get through. I'm like, I want to get from. If I'm going to go through pain in life, I want to get my pain's worth. I'm not just going to come out the other side the same. No way. I'm going to come out the other side better, stronger, resilient, more understanding, more patient, better vision on where my habits are leading me. Now, my dad had some very nasty habits, which ended up consuming him. That's never going to happen for me. It might happen to others, but knowing what I know and having experienced and seen it firsthand, there's never a chance that's going to happen to me because I know where that road leads, and it's not nice. Mm-hmm. And it's not, you know, and we can go into a whole detailed scenario about that issue specifically of what my dad has done and how he got there. And I see his path. I can see the pathway that led to his own destruction. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about heaven and hell and that sort of thing. Hell for my parents, especially for my mum, would be separation from her family. She's got that now because she didn't take action, because she ignored things and she played ignorant and she played dumb and she passed things off as that's okay. Like, no. So now she lives in her hell because she does not have access to, and it's not that she doesn't have access to, there's no legal restraint, but, I've moved. I don't want her in my life anymore. I don't want my dad in my life anymore because of choices they made. I know the path that they took to get there, and that's never going to happen for me. What's going to happen for me is I'm going to design the life, and I have been, and I'm living. Like, finished is never. Like, it's not something that you think, I'll design this and then in 10 years I'll get there. It's like, no. You can make the choice now to live life like the holiday that you want to be on. Mm-hmm. I don't want a job. I want the weekend. Or I can't wait for my holiday that I have once a year or once every 2 years for some people. Or they can't remember the last holiday. I'm like, what? Like, what is life for? But to enjoy, to explore and experience, Like, it's not about the length of number of years that we have on this planet. It's about the frequency and the intensity of joyful experiences. Mm-hmm. And if you have plenty of those by the time you're 40 and then you die, maybe you've lived 3 lifetimes in one. Because just because you get to 80 or 90 years old and then you die, that doesn't mean you've lived a good life. It means you've lived a long life perhaps, but that doesn't mean that you've really lived. And mm-hmm. I think too many people they're just waiting. As you said before, Klaas, like they're waiting for the weekend. They're waiting for something like the joy, the happiness, the fulfillment, the connection that they want with their kids, the experiences that they want to have with their kids, the trips they want to go on. It doesn't have to be trips. It doesn't have to be something that involves money. I took my kids to the playground each individually this week. That was my challenge a while ago for myself, is each week, and this is part of that system of getting back to one of your questions you asked me a long time ago now, is the system or the plan that I have to live life like a holiday, to become a fearless father, is to say, you know what, even though I'm an entrepreneur and even though I provide for my family through the time that I give to others, I'm going to give part of my time to my children, not on the odd chance, not every now and again, on a consistent, planned basis. It's in my calendar. And what's in my calendar is my big ticket items. I'd love to share it with you if I can, actually, Klaas, because this is exactly how I roll. Okay, so here we go. If I can show you, if I can turn this around, hang on one sec. I want to show you my calendar. All right, so can you see that?
Yep, I see green and blue. And
excellent. These green bits here, this is the morning time.
Uh-huh.
So that's before school and before kindy. That's kids' time. Then they're at school and they're at kindy. These blue bits here, that's some training that I've got to do. And these bits here, this is a few weeks ahead. This is going to fill up with appointments. And then when I pick my kids up from school before they go to bed, that's kids' time as well. This one here, that's me taking Sophie to the playground. That's me taking my oldest son to the playground. That's me taking my middle child to the playground. So it's scheduled in. Like, the reason I wanted to go to that level to show you that is because it's scheduled into my calendar to have that one-on-one time with my children. But also there's obviously, I've got the, on Fridays, I've got popcorn and movie night. On Thursday night, my wife goes to a social group that she likes to be a part of, because she does more work than I do. Like, she's a very, very hard worker. And she's at home with the kids before they were at school anyway. A lot more than I am, because obviously I'm out a fair bit doing, following through with my passion and earning an income at the same time. But it's a fine balance, man. And look, that's my structure. That's my balance. And it works for me. So that's not to say that that's the only way. I mean, I work in a city where the majority of parents, or a lot of them, like 30 or 40% of parents that are in this town, are shift workers, which means that they're like 7 days at a mining site, which might mean they haven't, like, they catch a plane and they live there for 7 days, or sometimes it's 2 weeks, 2 weeks they're away. I'm not saying I'm making a moral judgment that that's right or wrong. Personally, I would find that incredibly challenging to have the relationship with my family that I want. But some people feel like that's their only option. That's the only skill set that they've got, in my opinion, that they are prepared to develop. Because I wasn't always a coach, and I didn't plan on being a coach. I'm so grateful for the experiences that led me to this point, but I didn't choose it before I was here. Like it just was one of those things that literally I just followed the breadcrumbs. I followed my instinct, my gut. Like, this feels good. I feel like I'm loving doing this. Could I do this every day? Yep, I could do this every day. I could do it all. I could do discussions like this with people like you, with the audience that you have, all day long. And if I get paid for it, like, that's a massive bonus. And there's a time where these sorts of things for you and I will likely involve a fee. Like, there'll be something paid because we have provided so much value. Mm-hmm. But I think that often, like, it's you do stuff like this, and just I really believe that the more you give, it's the best part. It's the first part of the receiving process is mm-hmm. to give and give. And you don't. The challenge with it is you don't give with your eye on the receive. You just give. Like, just go and contribute. And the law of compensation, as Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, he wrote an essay called The Law of Compensation, which is brilliant. Mm-hmm. It must come back to you. Some people call it karma. Jesus talks about it. The law of reciprocity, the law of attraction, all these things, in my opinion, they all point in the same direction, which is if you do good by others, it's the same thing. Service to many leads to greatness. Mm-hmm. If you find a way to give so much value to other people, eventually it will come back to you. Financially, or is the least of the return that you get. The biggest return is the person you become in the mm-hmm. process of sharing so much. And again, Jim Rohn, he says, become a millionaire, not for the $1 million, but for the person you have to be to deserve and to earn that $1 million. Now, you can still be an asshole and have $1 million, and you can still be a really nice person and be poor, and vice versa. You can also be a really nice person and have a stack of cash and have all the trimmings. But the key that I've found is, and I'm not a millionaire and I'm not rolling in cash, so I'm not talking from that perspective, but I love Jim Carrey, and he says, everyone should become rich and famous to work out that it doesn't matter if you're rich and famous. But he says, the process of becoming that so that you can work out, you don't have to have that. And then I challenge myself, Klaas, and I say, well, I kind of had my eye on that kind of prize of being, abundantly wealthy and having the fame. That used to be my focus. And mm-hmm. I would dupe myself. I'd deceive myself by saying that I'm doing it for my family. I'm like, no, you're doing it for you because you want those things. You want the material things. And you are sacrificing all those nights mm-hmm. with your family. And I remember the words that my wife said to me when I got involved with the business, and it was the first time that I really lit up. I thought, this is the ticket. It was my first endeavor into entrepreneurship. And I didn't know where the balance was, man. I was way out of balance. We had just had our first son, and I was in a rush. I was like, I've got to get this stuff done. I've got to get this income coming in passively so I can spend time with my kids and raise my family like I want to be and be that dad that I want to be. And my wife said, I was going so hard. My wife said to me, the words, they're that burnt in my mind. She said, I feel like, with tears in her eyes, she said, I feel like a single mother. Oof. And I get emotional even just saying that now, man. Like, that just stopped me in my tracks, man. Like, I just thought, what have I done? Like, what have I been doing? How did I miss that? Mm-hmm. Why did it come to her saying that with tears in her eyes? And you know what? Like, it's almost embarrassing to say, but there's a massive lesson there. I almost put it back on her to say, how could you make me feel like that? Why would you say something like that to me? Like, I'm going out. I'm not going out because I want to be out. I'm going out for you. I'm going out for our kid. Like, this is why I'm out. Like, that's the reason. And I look back in hindsight and I want to slap myself in the face. I want to go, you asshole. Like, how could you? How could you say that? Your wife has puckered up the courage to let you know, everything else that she was doing, you missed the hint. You didn't get the hint. She wanted you back home. She didn't want what you want. She didn't want the big business. She didn't want all that. I'd have my list. I'd have my list of 100 goals written out. I'd be writing out my goals, and I'd say, sweetheart, I'd give her a pen and paper. I'd say, come on, tell me what you want. What do you want? Write down what you want. Let's go get it. And she'd write one thing: I want you. Oosh. I want you. And I'm going, no, I know. Look, I know you want me. Like, we're married. You love me. I love you. That's all good. I love that. But that's down here. Now tell me what you really want. And I just didn't get it. Like, I didn't get it. And I'm just so glad that she was patient with me, that she gave me some time and some space to figure some things out for myself, because Winston Churchill says, we all love to learn, but no one likes to be taught. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't give advice. That's why I don't tell anybody what to do. They might pay me for advice, but I've got none for them. This is how I'm gonna live, and I'm gonna share with you every step of the way, and I'm gonna share with you if you can ask me anything, because a lot of people say, how come you have so much energy? And I'll say, number one, I start my day right. It's not the water, it's not the lemon juice, it's not the salt, it's not the apple cider vinegar. It's those things might help my physical body, and that might be like the smallest percent. The biggest percent is choice. It's choice. And we come home from a day's labor or of work, of production, right? Of contributing to the world to get money, to whatever we do, right? And we get home often and we look at our kids and we're so tired. We're so tired. And we think, oh, I can't go outside and play with them. I'm just too tired. I've had such a big day. Kids, you'll understand when you're older, And I'm like, if your friends called around, if someone rang you, or if someone rocked up at the door, you go, hey, how you going? Like somehow you'd find energy. Like if an opportunity came up, like if something came up that you really want to do, like going to the football game or whatever, you'd find energy. Well, I remember I watched an interview with Kobe Bryant, the NBA Lakers star, right? And he said, he was he was asked about his kids. He's like, you have such a busy schedule. How do you maintain energy for your kids? And he said, you know what, when we get home, we live busy life. We all have a busy life, right? But he said, if the game goes into overtime, you find more energy. And if you are called upon in the game of the basketball to bring it, you bring it. Well, guess what? When we go home to our kids, that's the prime time. That's the most real stuff. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to give that second-class time, we need to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves, because what are we working for? We work so hard. We want to provide. We contribute to others' lives and we get income from that. Why are we doing that? It's to be there to provide for our kids and for our wives and our families, right? Well, then go do that. And that needs to be the first thing. Now, I'm not suggesting that we stay at home all day and play with our kids. Like, there needs to be a balance. We've got to demonstrate to them, be the example of contribution to the world in the modality, in the craft that I'm hoping that we're all getting better at every single day, that we're working on ourselves to get better at every single day so we can contribute more. And I believe that in that 100%, because the better we get, the easier life becomes. Mm-hmm. Like the more we do for others, the more that we're going to get. It's just the way it works. But we always have to keep in mind that as fathers, being there for our children that's the number one. If anyone's watching this, it's because they're interested in becoming the best dad, the most fearless father they have, right? Well, dig deeper. Yes, it's hard. Yes, you're tired. We all get it. We've all got 24 hours in the day. If you are systematically tired at the times when your kids are awake and they are calling on you to be the dad and to be available, and you for some reason are coming up short every way, redesign your life. What are your priorities? Mm-hmm. Are you giving second-class time to your first-class value? Like, if being a dad and being a fearless father is your number one priority, and you say that intellectually, you say that mentally, you got to back that up. You got to back it up with a calendar that reflects, hey, when my kids are awake and they're not at school, I'm with them. And I don't do appointments. I used to think, hey, if someone has to book in for a session, and because I was working internationally at that time like this, for example, and we talked about it, right? And what I love about you already, Klaas, is you were so protective of your time, and we were both on the same page. And there was this instant mutual connection, respect between you and I of like, we're both going to do this at a time when it's outside of prime time, when it's outside of family time. I love that about you, man. Like that, just my respect for you and my desire to accommodate that went through the roof. I'm like, for those watching, like this is the first time Klaas and I have spoken. And I'm like, there was an instant connection, and that's how I knew. I'm like, this is totally where I want to be. And I normally have my own morning routine right now, which is sacred to me. Like that's this is prime time for me. This is my own development. But you know what? I knew that this sort of conversation, and I feel like I'm doing 90% of the talking here. Which, if you're okay with that, Klaas, please come in whenever you need to here, man.
I'm letting you run with it. I'm like, this guy got a passion this year. I'll let him go. He shared nugget after nugget after nugget. I'm not going to interrupt at all. Just let him go.
I love it, man. I love it.
Sometimes you got to interrupt, right? Sometimes you got to ask tons of questions with people. Sometimes you got to let them run with it, and it's okay, right? And that's what I think also comes with just taking action, doing it. and then learning over time. It's like sometimes, I don't even write questions anymore. The reason for that is that none of the interviews that I had, or at least let's say the last half of the live interviews that I've done, none of the questions I written down became answered because I never got the chance to ask them because, the conversation just goes where it wants to go, right? So absolutely. I love it, man. Enjoy that. I got so much stuff to ask from what you share with me. One of the things, definitely, everything that happens to us. This is one of the things that my coach is teaching us. One of the things, everything that happens to you is for your betterment, and I truly start believing that, and that changed the game. Serving, I'm all about serving. That changed the game, and morning routine. How silly that sounds. That changed the game. And one of the biggest things that's just you shared is your week planning. That's one of the things that right now I'm sharing with everybody completely for free, video explanation and my template. And because my clients were like, dude, this is amazing. Like just simple time blocks and saying like, look, on a Saturday night when your kids are asleep, you plan your next week and not just Monday to Friday, right? Not just the week that you have to work. No. Your weekend should be already planned. Mm-hmm. So because it's not just what you mentioned, right? It's absolutely true. Like, okay, so Monday we dread, then Friday we happy, then it's Saturday, and then Saturday in the morning we finally wake up and then we decide, what are we gonna do this weekend? Like now we go, what are we gonna do? It's like that's too late. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make that didn't make sense. And then by the time you ask people on Monday, we're like, it's Monday. So how was your weekend? You gotta be excited about something then. It's like, it was okay. We're like, what? So you were open the whole weekend, the whole week, like I'm waiting, I'm dying for the weekend. It was weekend. You didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. So wow, that's
it's an anticlimax. It's an anticlimax. It's like, what? That's what you're hanging out for.
Then you should have just enjoyed Monday. At least you know what to expect on a Monday. If you plan that, plan for you. Anyway, let's hop into something that I definitely want to talk about. You mentioned like now. You mentioned a lot, but now you just get down a little bit and not just a whole, you don't let it take your whole day, right?
Yeah.
What do you do to make that happen? Because that is a tough one for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So what's your
secret? And that's really, dude, that's really where the rubber hits the road. Like, cause that's the thing. It's about, what about if our kids need us but we're in a down day? Like how do we take control of that? So what I love to help people through, and I feel privileged to share this sort of information with you and your group, is it really is about a system like that, and it's about making the choice in advance. Mm-hmm. How am I gonna choose to respond to life when it inevitably knocks me down, whether it's in a big way or a small way, whether someone in the car park opens their door into the side of my car, whether someone hits me in the back of the car park, whether someone cuts me off, whether my boss tells me something that I don't like, whether things don't go my way that day, whatever might happen, right? Whether I'm diagnosed with a terminal illness, obviously on the other end of the spectrum, right? But how am I going to go when life inevitably, and I'll give you a prime example, right? For the last couple of years, my first son, Ruben, he's 6. He has been complaining fairly frequently about a sore tummy. Right, he used to say, "Oh, Daddy, my tummy hurts." Like the first thing in the morning, he'll wake up, "Oh, my tummy hurts." Last thing before he goes to bed, "Oh, my tummy hurts." "How was your day, Ruben?" "Oh, my tummy hurt all day." Like for a long period of time, like we're talking at least last 2 years, that we have been aware of it. And my brother had a type of cancer that he's okay, thank goodness. But he had it once, and then he got treatment, and he came back again. It was lymphoma cancer, and one of the things that we got my son checked out, and his lymph nodes in his belly were enlarged. They were inflamed. And I didn't join the two yet. But when my wife mentioned something in a conversation, I've gone, oh my gosh. So my brother had cancer, lymphoma cancer, and my son's got inflamed lymph nodes. I'm a basic kind of guy. And when it comes to my kids, I flipped out. I'm normally pretty in control of my emotions. I was a mess. Because I had not planned for what am I going to do if something happens to my kids like that. Because I don't plan on burying my kids. I plan on going well before they're going to go. And that's my perfect world, which is to some degree out of my control because they can do whatever they want with their life once they're of age.
True.
But it reinforced a point to me of like, that was a blind spot that I had. I had no system, I had no plan in place for how I was going to cope with that. And I was distraught. I was a mess because I started thinking my son's got cancer and I don't know what to do now. And no matter what my plan would be and that I'm putting together for that, like I'm still going to be a mess if anything happens to my kids. And that's an extreme example, right? But another example that I want to share with everybody, which I mentioned before, is what my dad, like the breakdown of my family. Like I didn't have a plan for that, but I had a philosophy of living, I guess. And this is where the philosophy of it's a sustainable thing. We're not going to know what the adversity is that we're going to face. We just know that we're going to face adversity. So rather than planning for a specific instance, which may or may not happen, that could be a royal waste of time because it might not happen like that. So the philosophy that I have is that every adversity is a gift. You mentioned it before, right? There's many ways that this can be phrased, but life happens for us, not to us. Life, God is not a tormentor poking us with a stick, seeing how we'll react for fun. Like it's there for a reason. It's the heat that we feel refines our character. So the choice that I live by is that every adversity that I face holds the seed of an equivalent advantage. And the quicker and better I get at finding that seed, planting that seed, watering it, nurturing it, I then reap the fruit down the track, down the years to come, down the days to come, depending on how quickly that seed bears fruit of that adversity. So the first step in reducing the amount of time, because I still get down, I just don't stay down. I get up real quick. And the reason is because I think this has happened for a reason. There's something I need to learn. That mindset is so liberating. It's so empowering because most people go down the path of victimhood straight away. They're like, oh, that's just my luck. You know, they'll say things like, oh, these things always happen to me. And again, I've got to quote Jim Rohn. He says, you know, he was in this conversation with someone. He says, Jim, and this guy was talking to him. He says, Jim, you know, my wife left me. I don't have a good relationship with my kid. These things, everything like this is always happening to me. And he was a very negative, bitter person. And he says, why do these things keep happening to me? And Jim Rohn responded with a bit of humor. And he says, the best I can tell is things like that always happen to people like you. Because that's the kind of person that he is. Like he's negative and he's bitter and he is choosing to be a victim in life. Life doesn't respect that. Life gives you more of that. Life's going to keep until you get the message that we need to get better. We need to sharpen up. This is tough love. Like I can sugarcoat it if I'm in a one-on-one scenario with people, but ultimately my agenda is to help them get over themselves. Stop thinking like you've got it worst. You don't have it the worst in this world. There's always someone that has it worse than you. If you can watch this and you have this sort of technology, you've got it made. You have got it made because it says that you can afford electricity, that you've got a mobile phone or a laptop or a computer. I mean, how much of the world doesn't have those things? If you've got hot and cold water in your house, if you drink the water in your taps and you don't get sick, oh my gosh. If you know where you're sleeping today, whether you've made your bed or not, if you know where you're sleeping today or tonight, man, you're in the top 5%. Like that's so realizing that's the first thing is that philosophy of understanding that life is happening for us, not to us. And then the second key thing would be gratitude, man. Like and I know these are more guiding principles. And you know, someone that might say, but what's the thing? Like, but what's the one thing, Peter? What do you do? What do I do? The things that I do, I live by these philosophies. They take many different forms depending on the context of the situation. And most of the time, it always starts with a breath. That breath. So I guess if I can get really at the micro level, what do I do? The first thing I do is I take a deep breath and not a superficial one. I'm talking a breath that just like a real big breath. There's plenty of evidence and scientifically based factual stuff that you can go and research if you want to know how good the breath is. In my experience, I just do it. I just do it and I feel it. And I'm like, yep, that's helping. And even if I have to convince myself it's helping, if that helps it help, go for it. Placebo exists. Maybe the breath does nothing for me. Maybe it's just a mindset thing. Cool, but it works for me. Exactly. And whatever works for you. Like as long as it's legal, moral, and you're not hurting anybody and it's good for you, then do it. So if it means, I was in a conversation with somebody one time, and he was starting to lose his patience a little bit. Like he wasn't comfortable with what we were talking about. This is years ago, back when I was in property negotiating, and he didn't like what was happening. And I remember at the time he just said, "I need 10 seconds," and he went like this with his fingers, and he started saying something about teacups. And I specifically remember, I was like, what the hell, teacups? Like, how? That's totally irrelevant. What are you talking about, teacups? I didn't say this. I just let him go. But that must have been his thing to just, have you seen that movie, Anger Management with Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson? I love that movie, man. And it's like, Goose Fraba. Goose Fraba. That's what he says when he gets angry, is because that's like the way of getting through it. It's like what the Eskimos said to their kids to calm them down or whatever. And he's like trying to use this as this technique. Whatever the strategy is, for me, it's the breath. And I think at a physiological level, you are literally breathing in that which keeps us alive. You got to give it your focus. It does two obvious things. One is it keeps you alive. That's the very first thing it does. Oxygen that you breathe keeps you alive. So you got to breathe. The second thing is it buys you time. What happens when we get stressed? Like our breath gets shallow. We start to, it starts to quicken the pace of things we need to make. We think we need to make decisions quicker. And we got to counterbalance that. Naturally, that will happen. That'll be like an auto response, right? That we get, okay, calm the farm, take a breath, all right? Get that oxygen into you. Give your brain something to work with. Give it some oxygen. And while you're taking that deep breath, you are opening a window of time, because it takes time to breathe. It's a functional, fundamental, obvious thing that we miss. Think that there's some magic. It ain't magic, man. It's oxygen and it's time before you respond. If you knee-jerk response, oftentimes you end up regretting that. I've never regretted taking my time or sleeping on something before I responded. You get sent an email, or you receive something that you like, and you instantly want to tell that person, what you think of them. I've never looked back and gone, yeah, I'm so glad I did that instantly when that happened. But every time I've waited and considered it, I've then been able to take the moral high ground. I've been able to give a more eloquent response. Maybe I don't respond at all. Maybe I don't even engage. If that person's angry for whatever reason, if I engage with that, even if I share with them, this is the whole people love to learn, but they don't like to be taught. Even if I take the moral high ground, and I explain to them very diligently and very eloquently how they are wrong and how I'm right. Well, that ain't going to make them feel better. They're going to know in whatever way I say it that I'm saying they're wrong, and they're just going to get angrier. And now I'm engaged in this thing that I don't want to be engaged in, because that takes too much energy, and I'd rather give that energy to my kids. And so this is where it becomes very important to be very selective over where we put our energy. And again, if you are giving second-class time to your first-class values, being your children and your wife, you got to check yourself, and you have to own it. And it's not about guilt. It's not about going, oh man, I stuffed up. It's like, no, it's about learning the lesson. You've experienced that tiredness. You've experienced that feeling of, oh no, I missed out, so you can learn something. So here, that might be the adversity. That might be the thing that gets you down, right? Here's the strategy. Take a breath. Realize you still got your kids, right? You still got your health. Today is a new day. Tomorrow for you is a new day, right? Absolutely. Make the most of that day. Like, start where you are. You don't have to have done the program. You don't have to have read the book. I don't have to know scientifically why taking a breath is good for me to know that it's good for me. I just do it and I feel it. Make time for your kids. Put the effort in and enjoy and feel it, and let that guide your decisions moving forward. And before long, and it doesn't take long, man. It's a process. It doesn't take long though, and you will start to be thinking, wow, this philosophy, this guiding principle that I'm now living my life in alignment with makes me feel heaps better than what I was living before. So I'm going to keep doing it. And that's the best feedback that life can give you. If you're feeling crappy, it's probably because you're out of balance. You You are not aligned. You've got this internal conflict that you're not yet aware of, and you feel the effects of it, but you don't know why. Well, you can check your balance, check your schedule. If you say that I love my kids the most, but you give all your best time to something that you don't love, like work, and you're in a job that you hate, but you're giving that all your first class time. And again, I'm not saying be late. I'm not saying drop the game at work. I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting take a breath and re-engineer your schedule. And if that involves getting a new job, starting a business, taking a night study course, getting up earlier, having less sleep, I would trade an hour of sleep, as I did last night. The proof is in the pudding with the way that I live. This is what I'm talking about. It's just an example. I would very quickly exchange an hour of my, pleasure sleep for an hour of my kids, or getting up and serving my children at 3 a.m., at 2 a.m. Two of them were up twice last night. And I used to get angry, dude. And here's if we're talking about transformation, as a father, I used to resent it when my kids woke up before 7 a.m. because between 5 and 7 a.m., that is my time. And before I had kids, my time, my wife slept in, I had the time to myself. And then I had kids. I never made the shift. When I say never, it took me a while to make the shift because they'd get up at 6 or 6:30 and they'd be up and be like, no, you go back to bed. No, you have to go back to bed because daddy's time, it's not 7 o'clock yet. Like thinking that they're going to understand that. And I'm starting to resent my kids for waking up. And so when they'd wake up before 7, they got angry dad. They got frustrated dad. Now me angry at my kids is pretty tame, right? But they got grumpy dad. And I look back now and I'm like, how many mornings did I waste? How many opportunities did I miss that moment that my children are opening their eyes in the morning and I missed that moment and I showed them grumpy dad. I don't miss any more moments like that, man. I don't care whether I've had 1 hour sleep, 5 hours sleep, or off my full schedule of sleep. When my kids wake up, whether they've had a nightmare, whether they need to go to the toilet, whether they just woke up and they wanted to check on mummy and daddy and they just knock on our door or whatever, or they walk into our bedroom. This morning, during the night, my 2-year-old daughter, she hasn't done it for ever. She wanders into our bedroom and I could hear the footsteps and I'm like, who's that? And it's my daughter Sophia. And I got out of bed, I picked her up, and I just walked her back to her bedroom and I said, I love you, sweetheart. You go straight back to sleep now. As opposed to showing her grumpy dad. Why? My kids are everything to me. Why would I give them the crappy version of me? And this is the challenge, and this is the opportunity that we have, is to, in those moments, take that breath. The instant reaction might be frustration or anger. It might be disappointment. It might be annoyance. Cool. If that's the instant reaction, fine. Make a conscious choice after that. Conscious choice. And the breath, if you can get the breath, the rest will take care of itself. It doesn't need to be complicated. Just remember to take the breath. You're going to be doing it anyway. All I'm suggesting is giving your focus to it. Of course, you're going to be breathing anyway. But I'm giving your focus to that breath, bringing it in a bit deeper. And then when you exhale, let the frustration, the anger, the grumpy dad go with it. And is that a metaphorical thing? Is that a mental thing? Probably. I'm sure that it's just carbon dioxide coming out of my mouth, right? That's what happens when we breathe. It's oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. But I want it to be more than just carbon dioxide. I want it to be the things that I don't want my kids to have to experience in that moment. And I want frustration to go. So I make that choice in my head. Oh, I can't believe they're awake so early. Because sometimes they wake up at 5:30. And she, my 2-year-old, she's up. She says, Daddy, I'm hungry. I'm like, great. She's up. She's definitely not going back to sleep now. And it's not every time. Sometimes I'm still disappointed. Sometimes I'll still say, Sophia, it's so early, sweetheart. Come on. But very quickly I will turn that into a game, or I'll cuddle with her on the couch and I'll put my book down, this book that I know that I want to read. And I feel like I've got to read it between 5 and 7 a.m., blah, blah, blah. I put all this, pressure on myself. And it's just crazy talk, man. My daughter is everything. And she's sitting on my lap. She's right in front of me. And all she wants to do is cuddle me. Of all the people in the world, I'm the one. I'm the one that she Isn't it awesome, dude? Yeah, exactly. We catapult over it. We've got our mind is it's not in the present moment. This is the other thing that the breath does, man. It brings us back to the present. Stop living in the past. Stop living at the opportunities that you missed. Stop thinking about when they've moved out of home or when you're going to go on the holiday, and get into the now. Like, man, and the breath is the way to do it. And it can be instant. It's like the silver bullet. It's just take the breath. Just for goodness sake, just take the breath and let all that frustration go when you breathe out, and look with your eyes and with your heart at what is right in front of you. And it will so often be your children. You will catch yourself in these moments of frustration and anger when we think we need to discipline our children and we need to tell them off. Man, if we just looked at ourselves when we're going, what have you done that for? I'm like, who's talking? Who's talking? Do you realize who you're talking to? You're verbally abusing your child right now, or you're talking at your child. You're not guiding them. You're not disciplining them. You're relieving your own frustration. And it's probably your parents, how they did it to you. Take a breath. Be the dad you want to be. That takes so much courage to isolate what is truly you as a parent, what is truly you as a father, and what's your father talking through you, which you don't like. You didn't like it when he did it, and you don't like it when you're doing it to your kids. The challenge and the opportunity, and I pray and I really hope that the dads can get this. You always have a choice. You always have a choice about the kind of dad in every single moment. Maybe you were angry dad and grumpy dad this morning to your kids. You can go into the bedroom right now and stroke their head, and you can apologize to them when they're sleeping, and you can say, tomorrow I'm going to be better for you. I'm going to be a better dad for you. And the next morning when they wake up, you will have to make the same choice again, because you're going to be tired again. And when you're tired, it's harder to make the choice. But pucker up, sack up, get in there. That's where you win the battle of being the best father ever. Is in those moments. It's great to feel motivated after a conversation like this, right? Like it's easy to feel like, oh man, I'm jacked up, I'm feeling really good. I've got clarity now. Well, tomorrow you'll be tired. Tomorrow when you get home from work, you'll feel the same way again. But that's the moment. That's the grand final. That's the Super Bowl. That's when you want to get your A game together. And so, dude, I really hope that this is, I feel it. I can feel when I'm looking at you that this is resonating. And I reckon that you could be saying the exact same stuff back to me. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm loving this. So, dude, I love sharing the passion and this energy.
I appreciate that, man.
I love it.
When you were saying Goose Flower, I was thinking of Woozah from Bad Boys 2.
Yes.
Right? Woozah. And I'm actually teaching my kids to breathe. So when they fall and stuff like that, I always say first, take a breath and let's calm down. So I'm loving it, man. Thank you for sharing that golden nugget. Really appreciate it. Peter, man, I got tons of questions still. Other people got tons of questions, I'm sure. What's the best way of getting in contact with you, following you, getting your content, etc.?
Yeah, awesome, dude. I've literally just started a personal challenge to post every day, and I'm doing it for me as a bit of just to document my journey more, right? On my Facebook page, Peter Borda Coaching. So I've got the Facebook group, Living Life Like a Holiday, and I pour into that group every day as well, or at least 5 days a week. That's the group that I'm in, that I've created, and it's a public group. You don't have to be a member of it to see it, but you get the notifications if you do. So you can become a member of that group, or you can just watch what I do on my Facebook page, Peter Borda Coaching. And I think it'll be day 3 or 4. Day 4 is today for me. So as I'm getting up, so I'll be posting for the 4th in a row. So just each day, I'm just doing like a 2 to 5 minute video. I'm explaining my backstory at the moment. I just want to get up to date here, and then I want to really just document what I'm learning. What I'm reading. What did I read in this book that was useful to me? And again, the person who's going to get the most benefit from that is going to be me. Like I'm doing it for me, so I can reinforce what I'm learning. But if other people want to follow along on the journey, and if they want to see some of that energy, because I just have some fun on the videos. Like it's fun. Like it's like this, but I'm talking to myself. But I love it. It's good fun, So that's probably the best way they can see what I do.
Awesome, man. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. The best way of learning is teaching somebody else. You learn twice. So that's definitely right. And dude, man, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. Everybody that's been with us, either now, the replay, and I appreciate you. I'm going to remind you every single time, take action. I mean, we can sit here and you can be all hype and yay, but if you don't take action, start the breathing, or, you know, start smiling. I mean, that was my first thing, right? Wake up, look in the mirror and smile at myself. And at first I was like, I wake up and I'm like, yeah, but and now it comes naturally. It's like, yeah, time to smile. So do something that works for you. Breathing definitely helps. I do tons of breathing exercises, my routine, so I highly recommend that. Yeah. So again, take action. Don't let it slip by, because that's just a pity. Then we just wasted our times and your time. So to be honest. So appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. Have an amazing day. And I'm going to sleep. I will see everybody again tomorrow here in my life. Take care, everybody.
Are you still meeting up with your friends now that you're a father? Kids making you stress out. You got no time for yourself to work out, read, or relax. Can you still remember the time you were hanging out with your friends, feeling energetic, happy, and confident, spending time together and talking about your life and your crazy dreams? You're feeling alone now, don't you? No one to share your challenges with, and you're just running around from one storm into the next. Well, it's time to change this now. Join me and the Brotherhood of Fearless Fathers to speak on a weekly basis with like-minded dads to crush your challenges, face your fears with determination, be held accountable, and regain control of your life. If you want to become the hero your family needs you to be, then go to becomeafearlessfather.com/brotherhood. I'm looking forward to seeing you on one of our next calls.